Take a break from your busy schedule and join Harold Sala for Guidelines, a 5-minute commentary on living.
One must forgive his enemies, said Sigmund Freud, but not before they have been hanged. Such graciousness. Anyone who adopts that attitude must hope never to have enemies himself. For the person who cannot forgive burns the very bridge over which he himself must someday certainly pass. Now, some things are difficult, perhaps almost impossible to forgive without God's help, but His help is there. Have you ever thought much about what would be the consequences if God adopted the same attitude towards us? Like Freud, we think, I'll never forget that, whatever you choose to call the person, as long as he lives. We mean it too. And that is exactly why some people honestly feel that God can never forgive them. They are convinced that God treats us the same way we treat each other. Well, how about it? Does He? Or was the author of Psalms right when he wrote, "If you, O Lord, kept a record of sins, O Lord, who could stand? But with you there is forgiveness, therefore you are feared." Will God forgive anything? I mean, is there any sin so great that He says, "I'll never forgive you"? In pondering this issue, let's take a look at 3 words which dealt with varying degrees or issues of wrongdoing. In the Old Testament, several different words were used to describe human failure. The first word, transgression, was a word that dealt with the intent and purpose to do wrong. The act of wrongdoing was usually premeditated. A person did something, a theft, a murder, a sexual relationship with another's wife or husband, even stealing a piece of fruit in the market. And the word signifies rebellion against authority, a refusal to stay within the boundaries of what is right. That is the attitude of sin. It is a reflection of deliberate wrongdoing when the person knows better than he or she does. The second word, iniquity, referred to the act of sin or wrongdoing itself. The base meaning of the word suggests something which is twisted, crooked, or untrue. Eventually, it described a lack of conformity to that which was right. Attitudes which are wrong eventually are played out in acts of wrongdoing. Every injustice, every sinful deed begins with a thought. That thought is eventually embodied in an act which you strive to justify. Now, the third word, sin, is the one which is most commonly used in the Old Testament. This word meant missing the mark, as an arrow which has fallen short of its target. It means missing the right path, as would happen when a person comes to the fork in the road. He hesitates with uncertainty, then takes the wrong turn in the road. It may be an innocent mistake, yet no justification can excuse the fact he went the wrong way. Do you remember how David, in a moment of weakness, yielded to the flesh? Because he was the king and very powerful, he justified his wrongdoing. He took Bathsheba when she was the wife of another man. Now, David used all 3 words in describing what he had done: transgressions, iniquity, and sin. He openly and candidly admitted his moral failure. Then he sought and found God's forgiveness. Is there any sin which He will not forgive? David was guilty of murder, of adultery, and the abuse of authority. God forgave him. Thank God, He is more gracious to forgive us than we are our enemies. Think about it.
You've just heard Dr. Harold Sala with Guidelines, a 5-minute commentary on living. If you would like to listen to the program again, download a copy, subscribe to our e-commentary, or view other resources, visit guidelines.org. We would like to hear from you too. You can email us at info@guidelines.org. That's info@guidelines.org. Thanks for listening, and we invite you to join us again for the next edition of Guidelines.